And you guys will just ask me questions, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for being
Right.
here. Sanat, you can take it away, man.
Great. Yeah. So, thank you so much, Mr. Draper, for coming on the podcast. I'm super excited to talk to you. And I think we got connected through, I did the Draper University course over the past summer. And then I came into, it
You're
was
a
an
hero
amazing
now.
experience.
You got a big responsibility.
I did. I took the pledge and everything. So, I'm looking forward to, being a hero. And now and then I think we met, like we played 4-player chess at the open house. And
Oh, that's right.
that was
And I had to
super cool.
leave. And I had a huge edge.
Yeah.
It looked like I had a good edge there. Somehow I got somebody's queen or something.
Exactly. I wish we could have finished.
No, I got an extra queen.
Right.
Because you only have to go 8 squares up. That was cool. That was, oh my God, it's a mind blower for anybody who's ever played chess.
I'm definitely playing.
We got to do it again sometime. That was fun.
For sure. Yeah, I actually wanted to do one. Maybe at some point we could like do a conversation and an interview while playing chess, and that would be amazing, I think, and definitely very engaging. So,
good. Should we do it now? Okay, pawn to. Well, actually,
we could do blindfold.
I'll do it.
Go. Yeah.
We'll get Elon
Queen's
here.
Gambit. I'll start you off with a Queen's Gambit, then you don't know what to do.
Great. I think your questions will do the trick, hopefully, or your responses. So, so let's just dive in. I think everyone already knows sort of your bio, who's listening or watching this live. So, you're the founder of the Draper Venture Network, DFJ, and Draper University, and a lot of other ventures, and have been an investor in Tesla and SpaceX, in Skype, from Hotmail, everything. Almost, I think you've had 30 unicorns so far, and like 10 rhinos. So just an amazing.
It's been a good year, so we're way up above that. I think we got 40 unicorns, and we got Robinhood and Coinbase and a whole bunch of others that are rocking and rolling with Draper Associates.
Awesome. Yeah. So, and you're a huge evangelist for Bitcoin, one of the very early adopters of it, and early adopters. And I'm sure you've been very successful with that investment and invested in Coinbase.
I lost all my Bitcoin in the Mt. Gox thing, that fiasco. But But then I bought a whole bunch more at the U.S. Marshal's Office auction.
Right.
And,
exactly.
And those have, it's done very well. Bitcoin really is a transformational for humanity. I mean, it's going to open up the world. So for me, it's an investment of the heart. And and I like that other people are starting to recognize that, and it's starting to grow, and institutions have to use it now because they realize that it's better than if you just hold fiat, you don't really have a hedge against inflation. And this is really, and it's global, and it's transparent, and it's open, and it's just better for people, for humanity, and it's freedom. God, you don't have to be tied to some, bad government. You can do whatever you want. You can operate, build value any way you can. So yes, I'm really into it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have a lot more questions about crypto and Bitcoin, obviously. But just to start off, maybe could you, no worries. So just to start off, could you talk about how, I actually listened to a lot of your previous conversations beforehand, but also in preparation for this. So I know one of the things you mentioned was the fact that you, one of the things that makes you the most happy is sort of the variety of different things that you do, and having that variety of being a venture capitalist, having a TV show, being involved with all the different things that you're doing. So how do you have that variety and breadth of projects and things that you're doing while still remaining like focused and having being aware of what your core strengths are and your core who you are at your core, and not kind of getting lost in sort of all the different distractions and things that are out there?
Well, I know that I'm a venture capitalist, and each of these things that I do tend to be for the good of entrepreneurs everywhere. And so I wrote the book, How to Be the Startup Hero, and that was specifically for entrepreneurs to understand what it takes, how to build their heart and soul into becoming an entrepreneur. I started the Draper University, the school, really because I thought the world needed more heroes, and I thought, well, and who knows, it might actually generate some new businesses that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. That has been the case, so it's been very good for our business. And then I started Meet the Drapers, which was a TV show. Now there are 12 million people that watch that every time. We can't believe it. I can't believe that many people want to see us, but we have done it, and I think mostly they're there to see the entrepreneurs, and they can fund them, and they because we allow them to do crowdfunding of entrepreneurs there. So that's a really positive thing. And that also generates deal flow for me that I might end up funding through Draper Associates. So I do veer off, and it helps me kind of have a little more creativity in what I do. So I think it helps to know, I'm a venture capitalist, know what you are, and then to veer off so that you can then kind of bring that, whatever experience that you've built, back into being a better venture capitalist. So I think that's what I do. And I tend to say yes rather than no. People say, hey, you want to go whatever? I think it's just better to say yes. And so I'll tend to say yes, and then I have a more full experiential life. And with an full experiential life, your judgment improves on what kind of entrepreneur you want to be backing.
Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much again, for being here. I'm Sid. I'm from Berkeley. I know you're from Stanford, and we got some competition there. That's okay. But no.
I'm okay. Really actually, I'm now Draper University all the way. Those two have both lost free speech. I don't get it. Berkeley, you're not allowed to say certain things. Stanford, you're not allowed to say other things. And I'm looking at your colleges. You're supposed to be teaching people. What are they thinking? Anyway, they're taking away free speech. All this, whatever they call it, woke society.
As long as you're not Stanford and Draper University, rock on, man. Absolutely. And sort of related to that whole idea, but you say yes to live a more fulfilled life. It comes back to this idea of, you're one of the biggest evangelists for, decentralized systems. And I think, when it comes for a lot of kids, me personally, we really got interested in the 1718 bull run with Bitcoin. And we're like, okay, what is Bitcoin? What is proof of work? What are all these technical jargon? What was your moment where you decided that, hey, this is actually the future of finance. This is actually the future of, security or anonymity? If it's an anecdote, I'd love to hear the story.
For me, it was 2003 or 2004. I met this Korean guy. It's before Bitcoin ever came. I was looking at digital money even in 1995, but in 2003, this Korean guy comes up to me and he said, "Yeah, in South Korea, not the socialist dictatorship where people are living in squalor. No, the free market capitalistic system, South Korea." He said, everybody's playing this game. And I said, what do you mean? He said, about half of Korea is playing lineage. And so it's so important to me that I hired a guy to be my avatar when I'm at work during the day so that I can continue to grow my value in this virtual world. So I started to think virtual world. And then he said, yeah, and I bought my son a sword for $40 for his birthday. And I thought, what does that mean? What's the connection? He said, No, this is pixels on the screen. It isn't just, it's a sword that does things in the game. And I thought, oh boy, they're taking fiat money, converting it to digital experience or whatever. And it started me thinking about what digital money could be in this new world. You live in two different worlds. You live in the virtual world and you live in this physical world, and you would have to kind of win in both. You want to participate and win in both of those worlds, and then there would be some sort of connection between the two. Well, that I thought money would go from the gold you get in Farmville to the diamonds you get in some other game. And I thought that connection would be made, and that would be the new virtual currency. Well, when Bitcoin showed up, it threw out all my preconceptions, and I just said, "Wow, this is really amazing." Not only is it virtual currency, but it's a trusted third party that they've built into the system, and it got me really excited. And when I lost all my Bitcoin to the Mt. Gox thing, because I bought 40,000 Bitcoin, and they just disappeared in Mt. Gox. I thought, oh, too bad. That's the end of that. And I thought that was going to be a great thing. But Bitcoin only dropped about 10% on the news that the biggest exchange basically disappeared all their money. Well, all of a sudden I thought, wow, people really need this. And so then I started to do a bunch of research, and I dug in, and I came up with that, in Argentina and Nigeria, Venezuela, all these places with bad currencies, people have no incentive to build anything of value because they can't store that value in anything that stays valuable. If you store it in Nigerian naira, you know it's going to drop 50-70% a year. Same thing with the Argentinian peso or the Venezuelan bolivar. They just drop. So you build a great business, and it just tumbles down. In fact, now he's a good friend of mine who is from Venezuela, Sebastian Serrano. He said, my family has built and lost a fortune 3 times in my life, and I'm only 30 years old, and it's all due to currency manipulation and inflation. And he said, so you have no idea how important this is to us, to have a currency that is outside of politics, outside of government, and how exciting that is, so that I am so much more incentivized to build something of value. And that's true all the way across the board. So it isn't just, hey, this is cheaper remittance. It's not, hey, I can use Bitwage to pay all my employees in Bitcoin outside the US. And it's not micropayments, although all 3 of those are really great and can't be done easily with fiat currency. It's really just you are empowering this whole generation of people who used to have horrible governments, and now they can still have a horrible government, but they can build something of value, and that government won't steal it from them by inflating out of it or just coming with a bunch of guns and taking it away from them. So this is a really exciting thing, and I think it goes beyond that. I think it becomes like a sociological leap that we're taking. We're going from being tribal to global. We're going from being tied to some physical geographic space to being open to the world. And I think that the internet helped with that, because now we can all communicate this way. And I don't know where you two guys are. I think you're somewhere around LA. But you could be in Timbuktu or Hong Kong or wherever. And that's what's beautiful about this, is that you now have the ability to operate your business, your life from anywhere in the world. You have a way of earning money anywhere in the world, and that money will retain its value. The great thing about Bitcoin is there are only 21 million of them, so you know they're going to retain their value, and so it's worth it to work for more Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm sure you must be pretty big on NFTs now.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Well, hey, it was a Draper University graduate who went off. He learned about Bitcoin at Draper University, by the way, 5 years before your school or my school had a course in any kind of blockchain, Bitcoin, anything.
Oh, man.
5 years before, Draper University had a course in Bitcoin, and he went, and then he created Tron, and then he was the guy who paid $69 million for Peoples for the art. So he built a fortune just on the backs of our educational system. We can create a cutting edge in our school. People can learn from Draper University what the world's going to look like in 15 years, and it takes Stanford and Berkeley forever to get it through the curriculum department and the lawyers and the whatever else. So we have an ongoing edge here in teaching. Anyway, NFTs are so cool. It's the beginning of something great. You know it's the beginning of something great when it goes up a crazy hype cycle, and then there's this dot on the I, and then it comes down, and then it goes back up, and then it goes much, much bigger than everybody ever imagined, because nobody had the imagination that would take us to the place that we were going to be. The same thing happened with the internet. It came way up, big dot on the I, and then it had the S curve, and that S just keeps going. So now the same thing's happening with NFTs. It's the beginning of something really extraordinary. I think your NFT is going to be, you're going to have your driver's license on there, your passport, your hopefully you won't need a passport. Wait 20 years, maybe you don't even need a passport. Your vaccination, your art, your baseball card collection, your resume, your Draper University certificate.
I got to get on.
All of those things are going to be in an NFT form because it's permanent, and allowing more permanence to data is going to be very important. I mean, if you're going to want permanent contracts, permanent everything, and you want it decentralized. You don't want it tied to one country or another, or one company or another. You're going to want your data decentralized. So a lot of interesting things are happening. One of our companies, Unstoppable Domains, is making it so you can be like Sanat.crypto and Sid.crypto, and you can put whatever you want on there. You can't be muted by the woke people. You can say whatever you want there. You can you move your money back and forth through
social tokens.
System. It's really exciting. So yeah, you bet. NFT and all of that, all of those new things that are decentralized and have some permanence to data, those are going to be really big.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Sanat, can you just do a quick check? I'm pretty sure. Can you just check for live?
Yeah. I think we might have, I'm not sure why it's not working for Twitch, but I think we're live on Facebook.
We're recording at the top.
Yeah, we're recording.
We can record and re-release the live stream on Twitch another day.
Yeah, I think we're live on Facebook though, but yeah, we might be having issues with Twitch. So
for sure, no worries.
So, but yeah,
put it up on Twitch again. Just put it up there again. We'll pretend it's live.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, I think that should work out. So, but I think you brought up some really interesting points about, obviously Bitcoin and NFTs and the future. Like you paint a really inspiring future ahead, but you also kind of mentioned the problems with sort of education that you see right now and why you created Draper University. And I'm really curious, like, I know in one of your interviews, you said that you basically looked up exactly what you need to do to be accredited, to be an accredited institution, and basically did the opposite of that to create
Right.
Draper. So I'm curious, like, what are the core tenets of Draper University that make it so unique? And what do you see as like the future of education and how you're doing that at Draper University?
Okay, well, so I think what's happened to education is that it's been driven by fear. I think they're afraid of everything. They're afraid that they lose their accreditation. They're afraid they're going to get sued for something they do or say. They're afraid that students are going to be emotionally hurt. They run in fear. A lot of that is just based on society. I call it snooze, the scary news. They try to scare you, and the schools have been scared, and so they don't want to change anything. So they have to go through tons of conferences and consultants and all the administration and the staff. Everybody has to agree for them to make any kind of a change. But hey, our world's changing at a super fast clip, but they're stuck in the past and they can't make those changes. So I look and I think, well, if I created a school that could change very quickly, that would be really interesting. And a school that's not tied to fear. We have a school that's tied to opportunity. So if you go to school, they give you an A if you don't make any mistakes. Well, mistakes are what makes the world so extraordinary. I mean, penicillin was a mistake. America was discovered by a mistake. Reese's peanut butter cup, another mistake. Velcro, another mistake. Electricity, another mistake. All these things were created because somebody was out experimenting and trying things and failing. The phonograph, they were all like, hey, we tried this, we tried this, we tried this, and all of a sudden something happened. Well, that isn't the way they're teaching in school. They're teaching you to memorize exactly what they say, answer the questions based on what they said, and then you're supposed to be educated. That doesn't make any sense, because when you get out into the world, you want to fail and fail again until you succeed. The other thing is it's all about the individual grade. And if the four of us are all, or the three of us are all in a school together, my incentive to get the A is to make sure you guys don't get it. And so I don't help you learn. And that makes no sense, because you learn so much more from your fellow students than you do from any professor. And so you're missing out on that. And then when we get out into the real world, we're in teams. Well, schools aren't in teams. They've isolated you. They put you in the library studying hard, so you just do that one thing. Well, turns out when you get out, you've got to be social, you got to be communicative, you've got to be active, you've got to figure out what's going on, you got to ask a lot of questions. School's not teaching you to do that. So we decided to put everybody in teams at Draper University. We encourage failure. People get points for huge successes, and they get a few points if they fail and try something. If they just do a very, very good job, we don't give them any points. We just think, oh, good, pat you on the shoulder, but you didn't do anything extraordinary. We're always looking for the extraordinary. So that's important. We also have people that come to this school from all over the world. We've had about 1,200 students. They've started 500 companies. Companies have done very well. They have come from over 100 different countries. So the people are from all over. And it's a big mix, and they go. Some of them stay in the Silicon Valley after they've been here for a while, and some of them go back to their countries and create a whole new culture of entrepreneurship and failure and trying things and all that. So I think we do a good thing. And it's interesting what happens to our students is they usually, well, some of them just go and they start a podcast and off they go. Some of them join a big company and they seem to get promoted faster than anybody else. And it's because they're willing to stick their neck out, try things. So yeah, the school's awesome. And it's only 5 weeks, and it's an amazing thing. So we're going to restart it in July. We've had to be shut down because of COVID for about a year and a half, but we have had the virtual program, which you participated.
Yeah, I think the virtual. I was amazed at how great the experience was virtually, and it was probably like the first program that I've experienced virtually that was run so well, and it actually gave me an experience that, you know, as close as possible to the real like sort of a live experience as well. So we had challenges, we even had a hero-thon where we went through kind of like a hackathon, but we had the business part of it as well, and I think that was such an amazing experience because I was probably the youngest, if not one of the youngest people there. So I got to connect with people who had, who were a lot of them were way ahead of me. And I met so many amazing people, and we all went through this curriculum, and it was an amazing experience. So I think a lot of listeners would be really interested in something like this. So I'm sure I definitely encourage them to, even the virtual experience was great, but hopefully in person, I'm sure it'll be even better.
Yeah, the in-person thing, we do some extraordinary things with the students, and they will never forget the experiences that they've had. We do that sort of hero-a-thon where you have to start with what are the big problems, what are the big problems you care about, how are you going to solve those problems or that problem, then how do you turn that into a business, how do you create a product that solves those problems, how do you make money, and then how do you get your customers to become your sales force. We sort of focus on those things, and then we do sort of some emotional training where we kind of rip your heart out and then try to put it back together. And then we work with Navy SEALs and Special Forces and Army Rangers on a survival training part. It's all about leadership. And then at the end, there's you do your business plan, and then you do a pitch. And then that 2-minute pitch you give to a panel of venture capitalists. So that's the 5 weeks. It's a good program and has really been transformative for a lot of people. They say it's the best thing they ever did. I learned more in 6 weeks at Draper University than I did at 4 years at Stanford. You know, we get that kind of.
I'm going to cover this from now on. I think I wore the wrong shirt today, and we all know Sanat's a hustler.
All right.
No. Absolutely. Really appreciate it. And I guess, sort of to, piggyback off that, you obviously look for extraordinary people. You talked about your show, you're with your own dad and your daughter, and there are tons of founders who come in. But how do you know when the founder you're going to potentially, invest in or crowdfund in is going to end up becoming the next unicorn, the next best story? So this is sort of like a convoluted question to ask, like,
so
what
you
are some
asked,
tips?
how do I know?
Yeah, okay. How do you know?
Here's the deal. That's the question that comes from somebody who has been trying to get A's and wants to know the answer, or else, or he doesn't get an A. I don't know. That's the whole point. I don't know, and I'm okay failing. I'm okay saying, okay, I made that investment, it didn't work out. Too bad. But for and probably half the investments that I make don't work. But then there's every once in a while there's something like a Robinhood or a Twitch or where I invested at the seed level, and it's now, I don't know, 1,000, 10,000 times what I invested it at, and that makes up for a lot of failure. So there is that, do I know? No. what I try to do is I say, I do one thing that other venture capitalists don't do, and I ask, what if this works? How big a deal is it? And if that answer is not like, this is an enormous, huge deal, then I'm not your venture capitalist. You can go to the venture capitalist who just wants to get A's. I am the venture capitalist who is looking for either the A plus 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 or the D minus minus minus. I'm thinking, hey, how high is up? And that if I can make it happen, or if they can make it happen, how great would that be? So I like to envision what the future will be if this person is successful, and that's how I usually answer my question.
That's a great way to framework it. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we're coming up on 30 minutes, so I just want to make sure if you have to go, then maybe we could.
Maybe one more question. We're happy to do one more question. Okay,
thank you. So yeah, I think one question that I really wanted to ask you was, you mentioned since you talked earlier about like how you have this breadth of different things that you do, but they all come back to like your experience as a venture capitalist, and how they but they also make you more well-rounded and sort of holistic. I know that's a big part of your sort of brand in a way, and what you represent. So how do you think about sort of globalization? You've talked a lot about like how things are changing with, you mentioned crypto with being a big part of that, but how can we as young people become global citizens early on and start to understand different cultures? Obviously with the internet it's becoming easier, but even in person, once we can travel and things like that, how would you recommend thinking about the world as it becomes more interconnected?
Well, we do a lot of that at Draper University, but we're I think here's a statistic, and I couldn't believe it when I heard it. Only 1 out of every 14 Bitcoin wallets is owned by a woman, and women control 80% of Bitcoin spending. So I think what's going to happen is, once people recognize that retailers can accept Bitcoin with OpenNode, there's going to be a huge flood of people coming in to use Bitcoin. But I learned a lot about the world just by getting a Bitcoin wallet. All of a sudden, I was sitting there, and I had a well, here's a ledger, and I put my money on that ledger, and all of a sudden there was this freedom. I wasn't tied to that bank with all those guys dressed in ties and walking out of the big steel and glass buildings looking very confident. I'm not giving them my money. I actually control it. And it started me thinking, and this money can be spent anywhere. It's not tied to whether one leader isn't getting along with another leader. It's open and it's completely global. And suddenly I thought, wow, that changes the nature of the world. We're all going to be together. We're all going to be one world. And I'm sure that governments, some governments are going to be very concerned and threatened by it. But the best governments are going to be the ones who say, bring it on, because we want the marketplace to be here. We want people to be free to innovate here. We want that promise of a Bitcoin society where it's frictionless, and the audit happens automatically. They pay their taxes automatically. All of the deals are made in smart contracts. That world is coming. And those governments that get threatened and they go, oh, no Bitcoin, like India's talking about doing that. that's the stupidest thing they could possibly do. India has all these amazing entrepreneurs. They are going to fly away. India is going to be left with Luddites, and the rest of the world's going to get all those amazing entrepreneurs because they're going to say, hey, I want to do something with this new economy. I want a frictionless currency. I want a currency that keeps track of money perfectly. And I want a world in which I don't have to pay the accountant, the lawyer, the auditor, the bookkeeper, the whatever, and all of those friction points. I want less friction. The less friction you have, the wealthier the society is. It's been true throughout the long history. So I guess my message to people is just start with a Bitcoin wallet.
That's great. And I think, sorry, I think that's like a great place to leave the audience with. If I could ask one quick thing, it just came to mind, is there's so much that you, there's so many opinions that you have that might be like sort of controversial, or especially when you had, about Bitcoin, you predicted that it would reach, you predicted it would reach 10,000, I think, at some point, and now in 2022 you predict that it'll reach 250K. So you have these bold bets that you take. So how do you have the confidence to take these bets on yourself and believe in yourself to that point? Because I think it's very difficult to have that for especially young people finding their way. Like, there's a lot of different opinions that we get from others around us and society. So is there any any sort of advice you have on that point before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would listen to older people a lot, and listen to all the younger people with a grain of salt. But I would listen to the older people on generally how the world might go, and listen to younger people on what is a cool product. And I think that might help you sort of put that together. My confidence in Bitcoin hitting 10,000, I hit that on the nail. That was I said in 3 years, Bitcoin was at like 180 or something. And I said, in 3 years, Bitcoin's going to be 10,000. And the woman who was interviewing me for Fox News looked at me like, what? What? And it hit it on the nail 3 years later, 10,000. Then it went up to 17,000. Then it dropped down to 4,000. And see, I believe these technologies, you go through this I, to the top of the I, and then an S curve where it goes way bigger than anybody imagined. So the I was thinking the top of the I was going to be about 10,000. It went to 17,000. Then it dropped down. Then I said 250,000 by 2022, the end of 2022 or early 2023. And the reason I said that was I think that there's the hype, and that's the people's imagination. And then there's the work that goes in for about 3 years, 4 years. People are pounding away, creating great businesses that are helping that technology along. And then the winners evolve, and then they get to be bigger than anybody ever imagined. Nobody ever thought Amazon was going to hit $1 trillion market cap. And even back, when it was at the top of the hype, Amazon was just one of many little businesses that were doing e-commerce. They took off. It was like, and it's so much bigger than anybody imagined. I think Bitcoin went through that little hype thing, and then it went through this like hard work period, and now it's going to just march, and we're going to see the big boom over a long period of time. I think we're going to see years and years of growth in the use and the extension of Bitcoin. So very exciting time.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Totally.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. And I'm Tim at Draper.vc. If you got a business plan, that's where you go.
Yeah, and definitely check out your book, How to Be a Startup Hero. And I think that
watch the show.
Right. Meet the
Drapers.
Drapers.
We have 12 million viewers now. It's great.
Wow. Yeah, I know a lot of them are from India, right? Like, and I know you broadcast on Sony, so yeah, it's super cool. I think it's available online as well, so I definitely recommend people watch it. But
they can invest. We interview these entrepreneurs, and then you can send 1,000 rupees or $100 or whatever into fund these companies, and it adds up. These contestants are getting $1 million or $5 million from the crowd. So yeah, the show works.
So dope.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Really
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Hmm.